West Main Street. Hope everything's doing good. I have a few points that I want to make, and first of all, I just want to applaud you for setting up that informational meeting. It's great. I think any information that we can get as the public on this whole regionalization, regional school issue is important. You know my position on it, and I won't say it again. But I think we need to come to a conclusion on that whole thing. And I also want to say that I appreciate the comments from the other members of the committee on moving forward with that whole process. And I was a little taken aback last week when I read the Observer Tribune because I saw that there were comments in there from a couple of committee members, and I was surprised at that because I know I myself had stood right here at this microphone 2 weeks ago and asked for comments and didn't get any. And I was a little taken aback that all of a sudden we're hearing comments in the paper. They're talking to Phil Garber, but they won't talk to us. So I'm glad to hear everybody speaking here tonight. One question that I had regarding the other mayor's meetings, and I know there's a lot of antipathy regarding those, and we're going to move forward, I suppose, in this presentation. We're going to kind of go on our own. I'm wondering, does it make sense to appoint a representative to that meeting anyway, or those meetings, so that we can hopefully have influence in those meetings and also understand what they're doing and get some reports back as to what directions they're heading in, which may then inform the directions that we head in. I think the more information we have, the better, and I think we stay involved with both, and that's better than not staying involved in it.
May I answer that?
Sure, absolutely.
I didn't know I was off that committee.
Well, all I know is I read in the paper that frankly, they didn't want you to be involved in it anymore. So I don't know if it's a membership or an invitation-only process or what the situation is, but that's what it said. So the other thing I wanted to bring up was this issue with a special meeting last week. I understand there was a contract or something, I suppose, that I don't want to make an assumption. But I'm wondering, first of all, if we can get what the scope of that agreement was, what the actual deliverables are, what the timelines are, and things of that nature, what the cost was, and all that sort of information. I think that would be important.
I think that's a fair question. You want me to answer?
Sure, or I can continue and then you can answer whatever you want to do.
Tell me when you want to answer.
Good to be the mayor.
I'll take that advice.
Well, what I was going to say in addition, I think, and I certainly would appreciate your response there, but what I was going to say is, why the need for the special closed meeting in the rush, right? I think that's an important thing too. And I've spoken a number of times about, my preference for openness, and I think everybody would pretty much agree to that. My only thing with, the rush and the closed meeting and all that sort of thing, I would ask why it's really necessary. And I kind of been liking it to riding a bike on a busy street in the morning during rush hour. You can, certainly as you're right, but do you really have to? Does it have to be that way? So,
very simple. Mr. Murphy left last Thursday to go on vacation. He wanted to be at that meeting to present his views, etc. And he wanted to ask with me, the committee, to approve entering into a contract with the law firm of Jersey, Bromberg and Newman. Had he not left the country, we would have done that.
But that could have been open, right? Was that an open meeting or a closed meeting?
It was an open meeting for him to make the comments that you heard Mrs. Carlson make. And then we had a closed meeting to discuss whether or not we would enter into that contract.
Perfect.
And then
Go ahead.
we had an open meeting to pass a resolution to go into that contract.
And so I guess my question would be around that closed section of that meeting. I don't know what's in that contract or what it's supposed to be, but does it have to be closed? I know it can be closed, but does it have to be closed?
The closed session discussion related to the qualifications of the person ultimately authorized to perform to conduct the meeting, Mr. Gagliardi.
Okay.
Whether it was just a matter of amongst perhaps several candidates who might be best, and sometimes it's best when evaluating personnel to do that in a closed session rather than from the public.
All right, thank you very much. Oh, anytime you want to get to the whole thing with the scope,
I didn't hear you.
anytime you want to talk about the scope and the specific deliverables and things like that would be great.
Okay.
Good evening, Bruce Woodcroft, Tingley Road. First of all, I got a couple of comments as well. The first one, single stream recycling, I think is a great thing. Thanks. The less I got to sort my garbage, less I have to touch it, the better I feel. The idea of shared services with other communities, I think is a great starting point to try to reduce costs. I think if you try to share everything, it's a lot of admin and a lot of legal fees, but certainly things like DPW and police department. You know, I think the more that this committee can pursue shared services, particularly with our direct neighbors, I think is a great thing. I applaud you for starting that process. As far as I would also like to thank you for having the open public meeting on the school district issue. I think in the long run, there's probably a couple of different viable solutions for Mendham Township with the West Morris-Mendham School District. In my personal opinion, any solution, though, would have to involve some sort of school district consolidation and some sort of per pupil funding method, and that there's probably a couple of different combinations that are viable outcomes that will improve the tax burden on the community and the quality of the education for our children. So starting with an open public meeting and starting to get some of those options out there, I think is a great start. There's probably some things we can do without, on that same track, without necessarily trying to, address the whole issue immediately. I think those might come out in a public forum where we may be able to begin right at home with our own K-8 issues and start to resolve some of those issues in the interim, but hopefully not lose sight of the big picture that we do need to address the whole school district issue. One more question on the dog ordinance. I think Mr. Talley sort of kind of alluded to it, but government ordinances are a slippery slope sometimes. And in a town that's trying to sponsor a rural community and has put so much effort into it, you may want to make sure that any animal ordinance that you consider, if you do have to consider it, that you remove the requirement for any farm assessed or farm application properties from that ordinance, because otherwise you're sort of undermining the whole objective of a rural community. So those are my comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And we're going to take a quick break for tape change.